Here's the thing, most gardeners never hear enough, so I'm going to say it right away. If you care about building soil that feeds plants for months without constant inputs, you need to rethink how you mulch. Before we get into the details, make sure you subscribe to Evergreen Garden, leave a comment about what you're growing this season, and share this with a gardener who's still fighting tired soil. This forgotten tree mulch trick changed how my beds performed for an entire season, and once you understand why it works, you'll never look at mulch the same way again. I stopped mulching for looks and started mulching for soil biology. Most people mulch to make the garden look neat or to keep weeds down, and while that helps, it completely misses the real power of mulch. The trick I rediscovered is using fresh mixed tree mulch the way forests use fallen branches, bark, leaves and small twigs together. Not shredded bark alone, not composted wood chips, and definitely not dyed mulch. I'm talking about arborist mulch straight from tree trimming, where leaves, cambium, bark and wood are all mixed. This is the exact material soil life evolved to eat, and when applied correctly it feeds the soil slowly for an entire growing season. Why mixed tree mulch feeds soil longer than compost ever could? Compost is fast food for soil microbes. It releases nutrients quickly and then it's done. Mixed tree mulch is slow cooking. The smaller green parts like leaves and cambium break down first, providing nitrogen and sugars that wake up fungi and bacteria. The woody pieces decompose slowly, becoming a long-term carbon source that feeds fungal networks for months. This creates a steady nutrient drip instead of a spike and crash. In my beds, I noticed stronger growth deep into the season, even when I stopped fertilizing entirely after the first month. The thickness of the mulch layer determines success or failure. This trick only works when the mulch is applied thick enough to mimic forest conditions. I use a layer between 7 and 10 centimeters deep for vegetable beds, and closer to 10 to 12 centimeters under fruit trees and perennials. Anything thinner dries out too fast and breaks down unevenly. For example, in a 3x1 meter raised bed, I apply roughly 1 wheelbarrow and a half of fresh tree mulch spread evenly. The goal is coverage, not piling against stems. I always leave a small gap of about 3 centimeters around plant bases to avoid moisture buildup and stem rot. Fresh mulch does not steal nitrogen when you apply it correctly. You've probably heard the warning that fresh wood chips rob nitrogen from the soil. That only happens when wood is mixed into the soil, not when it sits on top. In this system, roots stay below the mulch while decomposition happens at the surface. The nitrogen drawdown occurs in the mulch layer itself, not in the root zone. To make this foolproof, I apply a thin feeding layer before mulching. For vegetables, I water in a diluted compost, tea, or fish emulsion at a ratio of 1 tablespoon per 4 liters of water, then mulch immediately. This jumpstarts microbial activity and completely eliminates nitrogen issues. This mulch creates a living fungal network that compost cannot. One of the biggest differences I noticed was fungal growth. These fungi transport nutrients and water to plant roots in exchange for sugars. In my tomato bed, plants mulched this way needed watering every 4 to 5 days instead of every 2 days during peak heat. The soil stayed cool, moist and crumbly all season long, even during dry spells. How this method works differently for vegetables, trees and perennials. In vegetable beds, I apply the mulch after seedlings are established, usually when plants are about 10 to 15 centimeters tall. For fruit trees, I extend the mulch ring to at least the drip line and keep it about 10 centimeters deep. For berries and perennial herbs, I refresh the mulch once a year and let the older layer continue breaking down underneath. Over time, this builds dark, fungal-rich soil without digging or tilling. In my citrus area, leaf color stayed deep green all season, with no additional feeding beyond spring. Weed pressure drops dramatically after the first month. At first, a few weeds may sneak through, especially if the mulch isn't thick enough. By the second month, weed pressure drops sharply because seeds struggle to germinate in the shaded, fungal-dominated environment. Any weeds that do appear pull out easily because the soil stays loose. In one bed where I previously weeded weekly, I didn't touch it for 6 weeks straight after switching to this method. The mulch becomes soil by the end of the season. By the end of the growing season, what started as coarse mulch turns into rich, dark humus. I don't remove it. I simply top it up the next season with another 5 to 7 centimeters. This layering approach mirrors natural soil building and eliminates the need for digging. After 2 seasons, earthworm populations exploded and water infiltration improved dramatically. Heavy rains stopped pooling and started soaking in. Why this forgotten trick outperforms synthetic fertilizers long-term. Synthetic fertilizers feed plants but starve soil life. This mulch feeds soil life, which feeds plants continuously. That's why growth stays steady and resilient instead of lush and weak. Plants grown this way handle heat, pests, and inconsistent watering better. The system becomes more productive each year instead of needing more inputs. This is the kind of gardening that compounds over time, and that's what Evergreen Garden is all about. If this guide helped you rethink mulch, subscribe to the channel, share it with a fellow gardener, and drop a comment telling me what trees or beds you're going to try this on next. The soil will thank you, and so will your harvest. Your